Hello there. A very warm welcome to this Oakridge podcast, where we will be featuring our female leadership development program called Stride. This is a 6-month program, and today joining me to talk about the Stride program are the key program leaders. We've got Deborah Larder-Shaw, Judith Fraser, and Claire Marie Boggiano. And my name's Bridget Egan, and I'm also one of the facilitators on Stride. And we're delighted that you are joining us today and have a little listen to what Stride can deliver for you. So I'm going to hand over to my lovely colleague, Deborah Larder-Shaw, who will just set Stride in context and why we set this programme up and why it's so important. Over to you, Deborah.
Thanks, Bridget. So I think the main reason we set Stride up was because we saw there was a gap in the amount of development available for female middle managers. So quite a lot available at the senior level for senior women, but actually middle management is the key dropout point for women in the talent pipeline. And we believe that there's 3 main reasons for that. And the reason women aren't at the top of organizations is actually because they choose not to be, not anything to do with skills or sort of capability, but more that women opt out of the talent pipeline. And we see 3 main reasons for this. First of all, women don't want to give up what they perceive they need to give up, and perceive is the really important word there in terms of, there's a saying that you can't have it all, but actually what Stride is about is helping to equip people with the skills and development to be able to have those roles and to move up to the top of the organizations and role model this for others. And again, women look to the top of the organization and look for a values alignment and look for role models. So again, Stride's about sort of helping women move to the top of the organizations and role modeling in this for other people as well. So if women see that they're at the top of the organization and they look and say, well, actually, I can't see any role models, I can't see any of my values being exhibited there, then perhaps they might opt out of that, of moving up in the organization. And the final thing is about women not wanting to play the games. So sometimes the politics games, sometimes that the games that they gain, they perceive that people are playing at the top of organizations and say, actually, I don't want to go there. I'd rather stay at the level I'm at and enjoy my role rather than having to sort of potentially go and play those games. So Stride is really about equipping women to say, I can move up in the organization and then I can still be true to myself and true to who I am and role model this for other women in their organizations.
Brilliant. Thank you, Deborah. That's really helpful in terms of setting the scene. So Judith, let's come to you now because you facilitate the first day of one of the group workshops. And if you could just share your reflections and the insights and what is day 1 all about?
Yes, certainly. I think there's a famous phrase, isn't there, take care with the beginning, because the beginning determines the end, and certainly day 1 certainly sets out to do that. I think we start to begin with is helping people, just give them a little bit of space, but not only space, but a little bit of structure to help them reflect a little bit more deeply on what they and sometimes their organizations would like them to get from the program. And I think for some people, reflection in a vacuum can be quite difficult. So, there is certainly structure there to allow them to do that. And then quite quickly, we move on to the opportunity for them to tell their story. So to tell their story and to listen to each other's stories, because that is so closely linked with our identity. And I think we've really got to begin to understand who we are before we can set about the rest of the journey, actually. So that's quite a powerful part of day 1, and a more powerful part than anybody would ever believe as you look at it on paper, but it's an incredibly powerful session. And then we begin to look at taking stock of what really matters. So that's what matters to you as a professional person, but actually how you balance that out with all of the things that are important to you beyond your professional life, so in your personal life. We are not 2 different people. We've become a holistic part of all of that. And it's really thinking about, well, what do I want? And because that's key for me, I don't think we can speak up and ask for what we want without really understanding what it is that is going on and the demands that we want. So, we can learn to speak up, but unless we know what it is that we want, I think that becomes trickier.
Excellent.
And we wrap that up all together in the end session of the day, which actually is If I know what I want, if I know where I want to get to, am I now going to have the energy levels, physically, mentally, and emotionally to deliver what I want for myself? And I think that leads it nicely into day 2.
It's brilliant, Judith. And what I find is all participants, say how powerful that storytelling is. And for most of them, they've never had the opportunity to do that before. And being able to vocalize it. And when they come through to day 2, which is the day I facilitate, by that time they would have also done some work around emotional intelligence. So they go through a diagnostic which gives them a really good indication of, how they make decisions, manage stress, what are they, how it looks at well-being, self-perception, relationships. So again, very powerful insights, and with simple suggestions often of actions they can take to develop their EQ even more so, because with emotional intelligence you can develop it over time, whereas IQ tends to be static. So once they come to day 2, they've been taking stock, doing a lot of reflection, getting to understand their identity. And then we focus on looking at impact and presence. How do I have the right impact in a very, very busy world and a very noisy world? And one of the insights that we offer is that performance is important, but the other 2 critical factors is exposure and image. So there's some research that was done by a gentleman called Harvey Coleman for his book called The Organizational Games Revealed. And he suggests that in order to be successful in your career, you've got to have the right levels of exposure and be having the right impact. And that's something often that we've not considered. So we spend time where they get to present their leadership story, who they stand for as leaders, and we provide feedback in a safe space on those behaviours, which again is very powerful. And then they're ready for day 3, and they go to Claire Marie, who finishes the program in that sense in terms of the group workshops. So Claire Marie, would you like to tell us a little bit about what happens on day 3?
Sure, thanks, Bridget. And day 3 is fantastic. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do ever, because all the participants have been on a real journey already before I get my hands on them. And they're really primed, and they've done a lot of work internally, personally, and they've also had an opportunity to practice some stuff in situ, because this is near the end of the 6 months, so they've got real live case studies to share with each other about what happened when they went back into their organizations. And in fact, that's what we spent the first section doing, is sharing those stories, and they're always amazed at how much has really happened in that short time, and how differently they feel, and those confidence levels that Judith talked about at the beginning. They can feel it. We can feel the energy in the room. It's absolutely fantastic. And so then the 3 topics that we really drill down to in a bit more detail for the rest of that day 3, we look at networking, we look at leading and managing change, and we look at coaching and mentoring. And all of those seem to be getting more and more important in the world right now. So networking, we look at all sides of that. So that can be internal in your organization and externally. And again, Bridget, you mentioned about you have to be known and seen for what you do as well as do it. So that connects those dots there.
Yeah.
The leading and managing change, every person that comes through Stride has got some level of significant change going on. So that can be on a personal level, it could be on their team level, and it's often on their organizational level. So they find that session really useful as well. And it's very practical. What does that mean we can practically do to help change happen better for all of us? And then coaching and mentoring. I mean, I personally think, everybody should be a coach and have a coach. And so we explore that. And we find often that the women who come along, they're more concerned about coaching others and supporting their teams. So it's interesting to explore, okay, so who's your coach or who's your mentor, and how do you find one and what do you use them for? And again, that really helps them develop that. And we normally spend the last section confirming that as a cohort, because they've been on this amazing journey together, they are a peer group of coaches, and very frequently they choose to meet up regularly from the program going on. And of course, they've also had coaching from the Stride facilitators throughout the program, and there's a follow-up coaching session at the end of the program as well.
That's brilliant, Claire Marie. And yes, that sort of positive byproduct of being on a Stride program is you've got that peer-to-peer support. So thank you for those insights. I'm going to hand back to Deborah, who's just going to round up our session today, and then we'll tell you how you can get in touch with us and who to contact if you want to learn a little bit more about what we're doing.
Thank you. I think just firstly, just to touch on some of the things, as Claire Marie said there, about what people say about the programme when they come at the end of the 6-month programme. And really, Stride never ends. It just is a continuation, and people become part of the Stride alumni, and it carries on. But people have said, I'm braver and stronger as a result of attending Stride. It has given me the belief that I can drive things forward with confidence. It's made such a big difference to how I look at things. My confidence is the biggest difference. And I think it's reassuring to know that we all have the same experiences and challenges, and that's really that cross-peer thing that we talked about, and people sort of seeing that in other organisations and in other industries and in other sort of job roles, people are experiencing the same challenges. And just to conclude, I recently read an article by Simon Sinek, who he talked about what is the most important trait of a leader. And he said that it was the courage to choose the important over the urgent, which I really do like. And he said, how do you do that? And he said, you have to have people who love you and believe in you, but you need teams who say, I've got your back and I believe in you. And I think everything we've talked about today on this podcast with the 3 days all links into that, understanding more about yourself, really sort of leading people and demonstrating your values so people follow you, and then understanding how to impact that in your organisation and how to build that sort of collaboration from your teams and people who work with you. So I think hopefully Stride helps people to become that great leader that we all aspire to be.
Brilliant, Deborah. Yes, and we've certainly heard lots of success stories where participants have gone on to greater things, either taking that big job that they wouldn't have necessarily applied for, or being seconded onto projects that they just wouldn't have thought they had the confidence or skills to do, or stepping up their career in a different way. So, and one of the things that we do is very much close evaluation on how people have experienced the program. So I hope that's been helpful. I hope that you've got some insights or some further information, details on what Stride's all about. We'd love you to come and join us. We have a great time as facilitators and participants. It's fun. You get great connections as a result of it. If you want to get in touch and learn more about the program, contact Deborah at Deborah Lardishaw at oakridgecentre.co.uk, or have a look at our website for further information. You can download the brochure there if you need to go and share that with your line manager or influence others. So thanks very much. Be safe, be kind, take care, and thanks very much for listening to us today. Good luck.